When the phrase, "bad news," left Sam Heughan's mouth, it did not sound like marketing or playful teasing. His tone was slower, more deliberate, and noticeably stripped of the usual promotional warmth. For a fandom accustomed to hope and resilience, the words landed with unusual heaviness. This was not the kind of comment designed to excite. It felt more like a warning. For years, fans of Outlander have learned to read between the lines of cast interviews. Enthusiasm, hesitation, and silence all carry meaning when a series approaches its final chapter. Season 8 was already framed as an emotional threshold, but Sam's choice of language shifted expectations entirely. Instead of reassurance, he offered preparation. That distinction mattered. Jamie Fraser has never been just another fictional hero. Through war, exile, loss, and impossible love, Jamie Fraser became a symbol of endurance rather than invincibility. His survival was never effortless, but it was constant enough to create a sense of emotional safety for viewers. The idea that his journey could end tragically challenges the foundation of that trust. It forces fans to confront something they have long avoided. What made Sam's revelation unsettling was not explicit detail, but restraint. He did not describe scenes, outcomes, or specific events. Instead, he spoke in terms of emotional consequence, using words that suggested permanence rather than shock. In storytelling, tragedy is rarely defined by a single moment. It is defined by what cannot be undone. As the conversation circulated online, reactions shifted quickly from disbelief to uneasy reflection. Some fans dismissed the comment as misdirection, while others sensed sincerity beneath the surface. The phrase, "tragic ending," carries a different weight than "sad ending," especially when spoken by someone who has lived inside the character for more than a decade. Sam's familiarity with Jamie's emotional architecture made the comment harder to ignore. It sounded personal. Within the context of Outlander's narrative, a tragic ending does not necessarily mean death. The series has long explored survival alongside irreversible loss. Jamie has endured separation, sacrifice, and moral compromise without losing his core identity. A truly tragic conclusion would challenge that identity itself. That possibility is what unsettles viewers most. Sam's interviews over the past year reveal a subtle but consistent shift. He has spoken less about plot mechanics and more about legacy, meaning, and closure. This language often emerges when performers are emotionally preparing to let go of a defining role. It suggests awareness that the ending will not satisfy every expectation. Honesty, in this case, appears to outweigh comfort. From a storytelling perspective, Jamie's arc has always been shaped by consequence. Each victory came at a cost, and each survival left scars rather than relief. To conclude that journey without acknowledging its toll would risk undermining the story's integrity. Sam's comments hint that the writers chose coherence over sentimentality. That choice rarely comes without pain. The emotional bond between Jamie and Claire has been the series' heartbeat. For many fans, that relationship represents stability across time and trauma. Any ending that disrupts that bond, even without death, would register as tragic. Loss in Outlander has never required finality to feel devastating. Distance alone has proven enough. What complicates the situation further is Sam's position as both messenger and participant. He is not speculating from the outside, but speaking as someone who understands the internal logic of the character. When an actor acknowledges tragedy, it often reflects a deeper acceptance of narrative necessity. That acceptance does not erase the emotional cost of delivering it. It amplifies it. As speculation grows, one detail remains clear. Sam Heughan did not frame this revelation to generate outrage or attention. His tone suggested responsibility rather than excitement. It felt like an attempt to respect the audience by preparing them for what lies ahead. In long-running stories, that gesture is rare. The idea of a tragic ending forces fans to re-examine everything that came before. Moments once viewed as triumphant now appear fragile. Promises feel conditional rather than permanent. This reframing is often the most painful aspect of narrative closure. It transforms memory into something heavier. Whether viewers are ready or not, the conversation has shifted. The focus is no longer on how the story ends, but on what the ending will take away. Sam's words opened that door deliberately. And once opened, it cannot be closed again. As fans began to process the weight of the words, "tragic ending," attention turned to what Sam Heughan might truly be signaling. In long-form storytelling, tragedy rarely arrives without purpose. It is often used to protect the integrity of a character rather than to diminish it. When Sam chose that phrasing, it suggested an ending shaped by meaning, not shock. That distinction reframed the conversation almost immediately. Within Outlander, happiness has never been portrayed as permanent. Love survives, but peace is fleeting, and sacrifice is unavoidable. The series has repeatedly shown that survival alone does not equal victory. A tragic ending, in this context, would feel consistent rather than cruel. It would honor the story's long-standing emotional logic. Speculation naturally intensified around what form that tragedy could take. Many viewers assumed death as the most obvious outcome, yet Outlander has never relied on finality to cause pain. Separation, irreversible loss, or moral compromise can be equally devastating. A living Jamie burdened by loss would align with the show's understanding of consequence. Tragedy does not always end a life. Sometimes it reshapes it. The emotional center of the series has always been the bond between Jamie and Claire. That relationship represents continuity across war, time, and trauma. Any ending that fractures that bond, even temporarily, would be felt as catastrophic by the audience. The fear lies not in what happens, but in what can no longer be restored. Loss of possibility often hurts more than loss itself. What makes this moment particularly heavy is Sam's relationship to the role. After embodying Jamie Fraser for more than a decade, he understands the character's emotional limits intimately. Actors often speak about roles changing them, but long-running characters become something closer to companions. Letting go under tragic circumstances carries a unique emotional toll. Sam's tone reflected that reality. Behind the scenes, it is widely understood that series endings involve compromise. Writers must balance fan expectation, narrative truth, and practical constraints. Not every ending can satisfy all audiences, especially when emotional investment runs this deep. Choosing tragedy can be an act of restraint rather than indulgence. It signals respect for the story's internal honesty. For fans, the hardest part is not knowing the specifics, but recognizing the inevitability of change. Jamie's endurance has long been a source of comfort, a promise that suffering could be survived. A tragic ending challenges that promise without negating its value. It asks viewers to accept that strength does not always guarantee reward. That idea lingers uncomfortably. Sam's comments also reflect a broader shift in how actors communicate with audiences near the end of long projects. There is less emphasis on hype and more on preparation. This approach acknowledges the emotional labor viewers have invested. By naming tragedy early, Sam allowed space for processing rather than surprise. That transparency carries its own form of respect. As discussions continued, some fans began to revisit earlier seasons with new perspective. Moments once framed as triumph now felt provisional. Dialogue took on added weight, and foreshadowing appeared more intentional. Tragedy has a way of reshaping memory, turning joy into something fragile. This retrospective effect may be the most lasting consequence of Sam's revelation. The emotional weight is not confined to the audience. Actors often describe final seasons as a slow goodbye rather than a sudden departure. Every scene becomes layered with awareness, every interaction tinged with finality. Sam's acknowledgement of a tragic ending suggests he is already navigating that process. His words carried the fatigue of someone nearing closure. From a narrative standpoint, tragedy can serve as a form of preservation. It prevents characters from being reduced to nostalgia or comfort alone. By ending with pain, a story insists on being remembered honestly rather than fondly. Outlander has always resisted simplification. A tragic ending would reinforce that resistance. As the series approaches its conclusion, certainty remains elusive. What is clear is that the ending will ask something difficult of its audience. It will require acceptance rather than celebration. Sam Heughan's words did not offer reassurance, but they offered truth. In stories built on endurance, that may be the most faithful farewell possible.